welcome.
Well, welcome, John.
Nice to be here.
How did you find out about Zen Bitch Slap?
A friend actually told me about you a couple of years ago, and I just never tuned in. And then, like, maybe a month ago, I saw a video of you, probably the first time you ever did the talk about, like, the lion and the sheep.
Oh,
And
yeah.
yeah. And it was like, I don't know, I've been reading way too much stuff for way too long and watching non-duality videos, and that one just really laid me flat. So I started listening to a bunch of your talks, and I was like, well, I guess I'll go to the satsang and see what it's like.
Oh, great. Well, hopefully it'll be like the sheep and the lion. That's hope. The video really could have been the last one and the first one.
No, yeah, I know. I think I've heard you mention, though, that sometimes it takes a little bit of repetition. Seems to be the case with me.
Yeah, well, the thing with the sheep and the lion, as it was presented, the finale is when the young lion sees its reflection with the older lion in the waterhole. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's sort of it. And then it ends there. But what we've discovered is what happens when the old lion splits and the young lion leaves the waterhole, is not seeing his image or the clarity of it. What happens to the young lion? So the young lion walks away, and then the sheep programming kicks in and says, I just had an incredible lion experience as the sheep. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of like a carburetor in the old cars. If you had an old beater, and you would usually be equipped, you'd have a little gas in the trunk and some other stuff. And let's say the car didn't start, so you'd have your friend open the hood and then take the can and just drop a couple of drops of gas in the carburetor and, press on the gas, pump it, and then it usually fires up. Yeah. And then at that point, if you add more gas, it's going to flood it. So this idea of the waterhole and seeing, having one of those ahas is like that. It triggers. But the problem with the thing is the system, the mental mechanical system kicks in and claims it like it's been doing everything else. Yeah. So the revelation of your own nature becomes an experience you as a sheep had. And now it sets off seeking, obviously, because the sheep is the dominant reality and the experience of a lion is a phenomena line. Yeah. So now the sheep starts searching for more lion experiences, and then the addiction that's disguised as spiritual seeking starts occurring. Yeah. So when I went to satsangs, and the satsang would bring you to that waterhole with the image, I found that there was a necessity to sort of provide the warnings of what's going to happen if you don't have the neighborhood waterhole and the old lion available at all times. Yes. You have to see something that you used to look from. Because if you see it, meaning being aware of it, what you may be aware of is it's not you. And what you become aware of, that is implying to be you. It's insinuating it's you. It's taking for granted that it's you. And it's talking seemingly to what you are as what you're not, but you think it's you. So you don't, but then the mechanicalness does. So I found the more important message is what happens after the waterhole. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So can I actually on that? So like, I guess like over the years, like I think that was one of the things that made me stick around and want to come to the satsang is it was listening to one of your recorded talks where it struck me that like the spiritual seeking, like the way you say it, this idea of the spiritual seeking itself being an addiction that reinforces this idea of the self that doesn't exist. Like that was something that made really like gave me pause. Like I had to like stop because that I was like, oh my God, that describes the last several years of my life.
Yes.
But like so talking about like lion experiences, like I'm sure probably everybody here has some one or two or three or a dozen peak experiences that like seem super noteworthy. And yeah, exactly, like trying to reproduce them. Like
Yes.
how do you not like how do you not try to reproduce that, or what was
Well,
actually
this is
what
how
was
we
actually
do it.
happening those happened.
Hold on one second. You skip over trying not to do something or trying to do something. You just see it isn't you that's trying to do something or not do something. Yeah. So when that movement of trying to do something isn't accompanied with the assumption it's you, the interest will be lost in that activity. Yeah. And so basically, you won't give a shit, really, if you're going to try something or not try something, because you've lost interest because it's not you. Yeah. So this isn't about another order after you've, all right, I got to stop looking. No, you don't have to stop looking. You just see that you're not that which is looking. Yeah. I mean, which is being implied to be the looker. That's all. That's the message. So it's very disarming, and there's no lifting whatsoever. The whole idea is you stop trying to get out of what you're not in, and you stop trying to get into what you're not out of. Yeah. Yeah. Not by that which is taken to be you stopping, but losing interest in that thing that keeps going, trying to get out of what it's not in and into what it's not out of. Yes. So you see the same activity, but you don't have a dog in the hunt anymore, so to speak. Yeah. Yeah. And if you're not running with it, you get a much better view of that train when you're not running along with it. Yeah. So when there's the identification as the one that's got to stop doing something or the one who has to start doing something new, you're trying to understand something that's moving and you're trying to run along with it. When you get off that hunt, then you see it. Yeah. And so now there's an awareness of what you actually used to start from or what you looked from. Yeah. Yeah. And there's a lot of revelation there. Yeah. Not to you, but about a you that you're not. Yeah. Not to you, but about a you that you're not. That's the revelations. Yeah. So what happens, I feel, it could look different. It can take a lot of different forms, but the sense of it is you lose interest in the need to be liberated. So you're liberated from that need to be liberated. Yes. You're liberated from having to get it. You're liberated from having to understand it. You just are it. Yeah.
So
You can't arrive at there because you've never left. The weird way you do it is by seeing what you're not, or becoming aware of the activity that implies what you're not, gives you a sense of what you are. Instead of looking for it from what you're not, you see what you're not looking for it. Yeah. And there's a sense of being what you are. Yeah. And that sense goes a long, long way. And that sense doesn't need to be reinforced because what it rests in is completely sound, the I am. There's no need for it to have crutches or have it jacked up or supported. You don't have to remember it because you can't possibly ever forget or remember it. It's like a knowledge before acquiring knowledge. Like a lot of us have been trying to acquire a lot of knowledge, but there's a knowledge that's not of that quality. It's knowing, not learning to know, but knowing. Yeah. And we have a lot of examples that try to impress upon us what that implies. But there's a feeling, like for me, when I heard satsang, at one point, I heard it and it was like an unspoken yes. Yes. It just reverberated. And then at one point, I realized, man, this is a knowledge before knowledge. Yeah, it's something that's known before it could ever, that's knowing before it could ever be known. Yeah. So the idea of understanding and intellectually grasping and aligning yourself with it and integrating with it in your life, I don't see that as necessary. I think that's beside the point. Yeah, you're just going to find out. Yeah, it's going to be revelatory. You're going to try, and hopefully you have that high form of Zen mind, which is I don't know. So it's much easier. So you don't have to break through the defense of thinking you know already, and you're in a much more, let's say, the petals of the flower are open so they can receive the bee. You're in an I don't know. Yeah. I mean, how can you know what's indescribable or incomprehensible? I mean, it's insane. So, yeah, I hope these little get-togethers reinforce that which doesn't need to be reinforced. Yeah, there you go.
So can I ask?
I'm not speaking at you. I'm just riffing, but go ahead. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, I know, I'm not sorry. So when you talk about this loss of interest, I feel like I've been losing interest for some time, like over the years, in a lot of things that used to fascinate me.
Hold on 1 second. Hey, Mike, there's some sound on.
That's when I have to mute John. So thank you, John, for going back and forth. He's unmuting himself because your computer sounded so good now. It picks up echoes from people's systems.
All right.
So he's having to mute and unmute in order to.
All right, John.
Okay. So when this loss of interest starts to set in, and I feel like it has in some ways, like I find that what will happen is like I'll have moments where there's nothing I need to do, which isn't a lot because I got like kids and stuff. But like all of a sudden, this moment will come along where there's nothing I need to do, but there's just this like anxious tension, like I should do something. And that's where I would normally be like, listen to another talk or like meditate or whatever. Like, what do I do in those moments? Like, what's supposed to happen if I don't have interest in anything? What? I just stare at a wall?
Well, what you're not going to try to do, it's going to interpret a sensation as uncomfortable and try to get you to do shit. Yeah, that you can know clearly. Now, maybe, just maybe, you can stay in the pause a little longer than you usually do, and shit will be revealed. Yeah. It's sort of like the turtle sticking its head out of the shell. It's a beautiful recognition of the failedness of what has been relied upon. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So just go through the little discomfort. It's going to bring about longer lasting ease. Yeah. Instead of aligning with the idea that it's you feeling uncomfortable and now have to do something. Yeah. Or just when you do something, just see it as not you doing it anyway. So the whole thing will lose interest. Yeah. It will be beautiful, really. And then that interest will enrich your day instead of being used to enslave it to this idea of self, this idea of being the doer, the thinker, the feeler, all of that. The interest and attention many, many times is directed by the head to support that reinforcement of that idea of the doer, the feeler, the thinker, the body and stuff. If there's a loss of interest in that interest now will be enriching your day instead of enslaving your day. And I'm sure a lot of people could share what it's like to have an enriched day than a day of slavery. Yeah. They're traveling lighter or whatever. There's a lot of ways of implying it, but it's the feeling that's the beauty of it. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So nice, John. Happy you're here. And
Yeah, thank you.
yeah, we'll move on and stuff. And Mike, anyone else?
Oh, you couldn't, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear
Oh.
you.
Yeah, because Irene just put up her hand, and thank you, John.
Irene put up her head and her hand. All right, Irene.
You're
Hello.
muted, Irene.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
So thank you, everyone. I've really been enjoying these satsangs with you. I really appreciate, Paul, when you say the concept of our primary addiction as being addiction to self.
Yes.
I've lived a life, I've chosen this personality that's been very attracted to many processes and substances. The 12-step has helped me deal with alcohol, drugs. So they no longer speak to me, although I still struggle with sugar, my primary drug of choice. I'm reading your book, Under Arrest.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm finding I'm looking for some way back to the 12-step. I left 12-step decades ago. Couldn't deal with what I perceived as a lot of judgment and shame and guilt stuff. And so what I'm noticing now is as I read your book on the steps and connecting with that bigger concept, adding the non-duality to the 12 steps, I'm finding that very helpful.
Yes.
And I guess I just wanted to let you know that I'm very grateful for all of you and enjoying these words, and still traveling much lighter in many, many ways, still struggling at times. I forget so easily. I think that I am this person. I'm in the process of retiring and letting go of decades of working as a nurse. So I'm retiring in the next few months, and that's bringing up a lot of attachment to self, attachment to personality, attachment to role. And it's wonderful that I'm able to be with you in these satsangs because it helps me remember truth of what I'm not. And so I guess I just wanted to check in because today was a tough day at work. I work with people who are dying, and some days it's so easy to get lost in the pain and the suffering and the projection and the emotion. And I come home and sometimes I simply forget, and sometimes I remember. I guess I just wanted to share that part of me with you all today.
Well, thank you, Irene. Do you do like a clearing when you get home energetically?
I do usually use, I work about an hour away from where I live. I recently bought a home here in Southern Cal. And so I have about an hour's drive, and I use that time to process and to release and to let go of the energies of, it's not the patients themselves because death is very comfortable, but it's the family's energy of, holding on to their loved one. And that's what it's easy to buy into, the pain of not letting go. So yes, I do have processes that I do. And still some evenings I get home and all I want to do is I don't want to, I just want to check out.
Yeah, and that's fine too.
Yeah. And sometimes the way I want to check out is not a healthy way. Sometimes and I hear you. And whenever the body says, oh, you know what, just fuck it, just eat some junk food and you'll feel better. So that voice still speaks to me and then I step back and I realize it's just this personality who knows that if she can curb the edges for a few hours, then she'll get through the night.
Yeah, and to me, the drama of being a person and in a condition of separation and needing things that aren't readily available, they have to be gotten or felt or something. That play could be presented in a closet or in a big arena. This is what the message is. The message allows the space of the event to be influential to the event. Yeah. Instead of the event having everything shrunk down to its little stage. Yes? We don't do that. That's what happens. So there's that which would, like, if it would be like if a fish, after seeing all these things in the water, started seeing all these things in the water and saw the water. Yeah, felt the context. There would probably be an ease and comfort the fish would experience that it never had experienced before. Yeah, not that it evaded all the fish that wanted to eat it, but just a sense of this space brought a certain leavening agent to because the dreaming is in proportions too. Yes. So there's a lot of mountain ranges made out of molehills. Yeah. And but the space is always, it's not formed, it's not less or more, it just is. And I think that brings a very good influence. It goes unnoticed most of the time, but definitely not unfelt. Yeah. Yeah. So you go through what you have to go through, but it doesn't go as long and it isn't as high a volume. Yeah. So to me, that's the act of, in a way, dreaming oneself out of the dreaming. And as you do, the dream gets happier. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I agree with you. And even when I notice the personality, the ego chooses to believe that this is real, and I choose to behave in a way a person would, I travel lighter in that the bigger awareness who I am in truth is noticing that. And I'm more okay with that because I'm noticing that I'll hopefully lose interest eventually in all these, what I call addictions to whatever.
Be careful about that choosing, though, idea, because there's a beautiful statement out of a little booklet about Ramana Maharshi's teachings. And if you've read, there's been many people who wrote about his teachings, and when they would have question and answers, they always would end up at one time or another, the question would be, is there free will and or predetermination, or is it predetermined that you have free will, or some combination? And so he would answer, and the one time he answered was, if there's a sense of individuality, and a sense of individuality, I would say, can appear as a sense of choice. Yes. If there's a sense of individuality, then there's going to be a sense of free will. So if you want to see if there's free will or not, really just look at, is there a sense of individuality or not? And there is a sense, but if that's all there isn't an individual. Yes, there's just a sense of individuality. Yeah.
Right.
So a lot of the experience we have is accompanied with the sense of individuality, but the head wants to imply that it's the individuality that's having that sense. Yeah, but it isn't. See, so it's beautiful. It's a beautiful direction, because a lot of people spend a lot of time trying to figure out if they have free will or predetermination, but all the while there's a sense of individuality that's doing its magic trick. It has you believing you're an individual.
Yeah.
So the sense of individuality, it's like the action figure with the accompanying, accessories. So one of the accessories of the sense of individuality is a sense of free will. Yeah. So the head is always going to talk as if it chose or it did this. And this is why some people they're pinned down on the mat of life after 35 years with guilt and shame based on something they really had absolutely nothing to do with, that their head has them as the doer of. Yeah. Yeah. So you see it, and that loosens up. Yeah. Yeah, so see, the space can be the space, and there can be chaotic appearances in it. You don't have to be rid of chaotic appearances to sense the space.
Mhm.
The space is prior. Yeah, you're sensing everything else from the space. So
Mhm.
a lot of times we keep thinking there's requirements, even if they're subtle, there's a requirement for it to be available. No, there isn't. Yeah, all those requirements are on our side, the side that we're not. Yeah. And some of this is what gets worn out after years. You just all that subtle sense of being the doer, or the historical doer, or the this or that. It gets it's like a henna tattoo. You don't wash it off, it just fades. Yeah, it fades over time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you'll even feel lighter concerning the stuff you just shared. And I imagine you're spending a lot less time around that neighborhood than you used to. So basically,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
you can see the solution in the smallest of things or in the giant, profound things. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, that's why I like to use the term dog shit awareness. It's just you don't escape the experience of life, how it is. It just allows you to travel lighter through it. It may not, things may not all get great, but whatever life has in store for you in this story, you'll travel lighter through it. And really, as the action figure, as an event, not as your nature, but as an experiential event, we're living as if we're an action figure. That action figure, not based on its own abilities, will travel lighter, and it will notice that and have some fucking gratitude and start honoring stuff. And some really nice qualities get demonstrated by the action figure. And you may be used to it demonstrating lower qualities, but it has the ability to demonstrate some high qualities also, which is gratitude, wonder, awe, AWE. Yeah.
Mhm.
Feeling like it's being moved and directed. And yes, it's beautiful. So, I mean, if we're in a mural of a dreaming, you can see your role as the brush and the paint. It's awesome in a way. Yeah. Yeah, you can have some incredibly beautiful moments, no grasping or collecting or trying to package them. You just let them come as easily and let them go as easily as they came. Yeah, not with any effort. You just like your hands. If you believe you have hands and you fall, you're going to try to grasp whatever you can. But what would happen if you couldn't grasp anything? The old joke would be you'd find out they were wings. Yeah. So this is what I love about compassion. Compassion sometimes starves you as the questioner so that you realize you're the answer. Yeah. Instead of getting answers. Yeah. Yeah. So I know I went off on a tangent, but thanks, Irene, for your share. And
Thank you.
be happy you're here and you bring a lot to the Zoom. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Irene. Anybody else want to raise their hand? Oops, there we go. Craig May. And Craig May, thank you for the clouds.
Craig May.
G'day, Paul. Hello, everyone. Paul, you know those beautiful, short, succinct, cryptic sayings that you're so fond of, whether it's Wang Po or St. Francis or something Christ said, or you said something the other day that really knocked it out of the park for me. You said that faith in the infinite is not listening to the head.
Yes.
I thought, fucking whammo. That just struck a big chord for me. But it's like the second movement that needs to be seen. What you were talking about earlier tonight is that the head's going to claim to be the one that's just freed itself from the head.
Yes.
That's how audacious it is. It's like the lion walking away from the waterhole. That programming is just going to do a little zip zip. And that, I think you're right. I think it's more important to see that movement than the first one, as beautiful as the first one is. But I think why those sayings are so powerful is because the truth isn't complex. The truth isn't complicated. It's the head. That's where all the fucking complications are. And you know, the makeup of the action.
Direct also. It's direct, Craig.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I don't. You are what you're looking for. I don't know what more do you need than that. You don't need 800 pages.
No.
But yeah, it just, to me, that was so beautiful when you said that. Faith in the infinite is not listening to the head.
Yes, because you can't describe faith in the infinite, but you can describe what you've lost.
That's exactly right.
Which is
and I think that's right. You don't place your faith in anything. You just withdraw your faith from what isn't true. And then there's a grace that comes in. You don't do the grace, but the grace does you.
Yes, I would say so, yes.
Yeah.
That's why it's a disarming. Yeah. Now you may be armed again, but you're not going to sew your own uniform and choose your own gun. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to find out what the regalia is.
Yeah. It's like seeing the emperor with no clothes when he's got his full royal regalia on.
What's the point of only being able to recognize the emperor when it has no clothes on? Yeah. That's not going to be a daily event. Right. You need the daily recognition, even while it's wearing clothes, that the emperor has no clothes. That's the knowledge we're talking about. Yeah. The knowledge isn't seeing the emperor with no clothes. The knowledge is knowing the emperor has no clothes. And it may have been triggered by having that moment of seeing the emperor with no clothes. But if then you start searching to keep seeing the emperor with no clothes, there's a reliance on something other than that knowing that the emperor has no clothes. Yes?
Absolutely.
It's different. So then you're not relying on the infinite. You're relying on the finite that has claimed to be the seeing of the emperor with no clothes. Once again. Yeah. So this is why knowledge of self is valuable, because you're going to self isn't the source of existence. It's an appearance. So you can describe the conditions that allow it to appear, what gives it time to appear, and actually length of time to do something. Yeah, you can describe that shit. You can, because you see it. Because whatever is manufacturing on the stage, there's an audience there of space. Yes. There's an awareness of it. We are looking from the audience concerning the play. We're not trying to figure out the play in the play. We're seeing the play from the audience point of view. Yes? Yeah. That's when the emperor in that one, let's say the second act, right at the end, before intermission, the emperor is seen with no clothes. Yeah. Then the third act starts. He shows up with clothes and everyone in the play falls for it. But the audience has it now, because the audience remembers what it looked like at the second, at the end of the second act. Yeah. And it doesn't matter how many acts come after that. It has a knowledge that the emperor has no clothes. Yes. So the seeing isn't, it will be great if there's events of seeing, but it's not necessary anymore. It's done its job. Yes. Yeah. But some people get addicted and they want to keep triggering the event of seeing the emperor with no clothes. Their head does. Yeah. So we have information about that. So maybe, and like our friend said, John, he was wearing a pair of shoes and finally they fit. Yeah. He had them on for a while, but they finally heard something, and that what he heard opened up the idea, hey, these shoes fit. Yeah. So this is the point. The knowledge is triggered maybe by the seeing, but it's not from the seeing. It's there. Yes. Yeah. So the seeing the emperor with no clothes. All right, maybe it can be sustained for a week in retreat with managed controlled environment. But as soon as you leave the retreat, there you go. The emperor appears with a new suit and you fall for it again. Yeah, what are you going to do? Go on a longer retreat? That's what it usually comes up. I got to do more. I got to see the emperor with no clothes more. So people set up the environment. They, tantric practice, veggie foods, great desserts, rolling hills, beautiful. Oh, it's so easy to see the emperor with no clothes. Yeah, exactly. But how about seeing him with no clothes when he has clothes on? That's dog shit awareness. That's Zen bitch slap, really. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I don't want you to see it in a fucking controlled environment. Because when you leave that, you're gonna be the seer of that, and you're gonna want to see it again, and that's spiritual addiction. Yeah, yeah. So there is a point. You're convinced, not you. There's a convincing that the emperor truly has no clothes, even though it has a huge walk-in closet. Yeah, it doesn't matter how much gear it has. It doesn't have any clothes. On or off. Yes, it's not only based on off. I recognize it when he has no clothes, then he has no clothes. That's easy. But how about recognizing he has no clothes when he has a huge giant, some robes on, and with a loving gaze or whatever else? Yeah, it's nice to see. So there. All right. Craig, do we want to go into your corner?
Yeah, well, I've got something. Do you want to go there?
Come on, let's open it up.
All right.
Craig's corner.
Right. And it's funny because this just popped into my head just before you asked me. It happened a while ago, but I go down the botanical gardens here in Melbourne quite regularly. It's beautiful down there. And I was down there one day, and there's a couple of spaces I like to go to because there's a couple of beautiful elevated spots where the space opens up in front of you. It's magnificent. You're at the top of an elevated spot under magnificent old trees, and the space opens up over the lake. It's beautiful. This particular day, I was heading for one of those spots, and I noticed a bench just over to my left. I don't know why, but I just went over and I sat on that bench. That little bench was sitting about 4 or 5 meters in front of a tree with all this dense shrubbery around it. So when you sat down, you virtually looked into a wall of green. So why I went and sat there. Well, I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden a bird starts singing. I mean, this bird wasn't just singing. It had an instrument, and it was just letting it do its thing. If John Coltrane was a bird, this is what it would have sounded like. It was magnificent. And it was ringing out through the place. It was a beautiful, quiet morning, and it was echoing. I remember looking up to my right in the sky as though I could see the sound. It was just magnificent. And this bird, it would do a pattern. It would do this little, and then it would do another pattern, and then it would come back to the first pattern. It was just gorgeous, the tone of it and everything. Anyway, I lost myself completely in it. It was just so majestic. And then I sort of come back down and I was looking at the bush in front of me and you could pinpoint where the sound was coming from. Couldn't see the bird, but you could pinpoint, it's coming right there. And I got curious. I wanted to see the bird that was making this magnificent sound. So I got up out of the seat and I hardly had my ass out of the seat. My legs hadn't even straightened and the bird, it stopped. It just stopped, the sound. And I didn't know what to do. I was standing there. It was like I was caught in the spotlight. I was thinking like, shit, he's watching me. What do I do? I look back at the seat and I'm looking at the bush and thinking, do I sit back down or do I go? And I didn't know what to do. So in the end, I thought, bugger it. I'll go and see if I can spot him. So I didn't go directly up to the bush. I went around the bush and come in by the side to see if I was having a look and see if I could see him. And I couldn't see anything in there, but I was sure he was still there. And I'm looking, and then I see a little twitch and I catch a glimpse of him. Wow, this was the scruffiest, tiniest little bird you've ever seen. It was the most unassuming thing. It looked disheveled and it was dusty. In fact, it looked like it had been out drinking all night and it's rolled out of its nest on the back of a couple of hours sleep. You know, it looked really disheveled and it was self-conscious. It knew I was watching it and it was sort of tweaking up and backing up the little branch. You know, I was getting a little nervous. And I was thinking, all right, I don't want to fuck with you anymore. I'll go back down. I'll go back around. I'll sit down again. So I did that. I sat down and it took about 10 seconds and off it went again. Just this magnificent, it went up in its riff. It was beautiful. I wish I could put it into words what it sounded like. It was so beautiful. It really was. And it was like a natural amphitheater. It was just ringing out through the place. It was gorgeous. It was truly gorgeous. And I had to get back home to do something. I don't carry a phone or watch, but I knew roughly how much time I had. So I thought I've got about another 20 minutes I can sit here and just lose myself in this. And I did, and it was just so gorgeous. And then I thought it's about 20 minutes later, I have to make my way home now. And I got up and I walked out. He didn't stop this time. I got up and walked out of the gardens and I could hear him all the way. It was so beautiful. It was almost like he was he was saying, thanks for coming, you know, thanks for listening. Yeah, but it was gorgeous. It really was gorgeous. But I'll never forget seeing him, because I was expecting to see this regal bird on the branch that was, you know, he was not like that. It was the scruffiest, tiniest little thing you could ever see. But Jesus Christ, could he belt out a tune? Magnificent. It was beautiful. So there you go.
Well, another lovely visit to Craig's Corner.
Yeah. And I wonder if I'll see him again one day.
We're all the better for it.
Yeah.
See, now we have a more hope because we're gonna hope we hope we're gonna see you again, Craig.
Oh, you will, man. Sure.
A little scruffy bird singing the lost note of non-duality.
Oh. Well, I think those moments, I think they say it all. If that's not traveling lighter, or I don't know what is, you know.
Exactly. The thing is, you could have had 10 people on that bench and 10 people had 10 different experiences of that.
I was just going to say, on a weekend, it's chaos down there. There's people everywhere. And I could just imagine that little bird sitting on that branch and people picnicking everywhere. I could imagine, you know, 70 or no, I don't know, 30 or 40 people in the vicinity, and this bird singing its ass off and not one person noticing.
Well, that's the thing here, right? We give it everything, all the meaning it has. So
Or
You
that you're just,
you were just hearing an aspect of beauty in you playing out there for you. Yes.
yeah, man.
Nice. Here, the first day I've heard a mockingbird was today.
Yeah.
Been living at this place for 6 years, and every year that thing can sing.
Yeah.
So every year it shows up. It's the first time I've heard it in a couple of months. So it's great. Yeah, we're gonna have a whole lot of they go off like crazy. So yeah, it's great. Thank you, Craig. Always
you're
a
welcome.
pleasure. Yeah.
Thanks for letting me share.
Oh, no problem. Anyone else, Mike?
Yeah, Alan Olson. Hey, Alan.
Oh, Alan, how are you, Alan?
You're muted. There you go.
Hey. Hey all. Hey Mike.
Hey.
Good to see everyone. I never have anything to say, and I always have questions and they never get answered. I just get more confused. But yeah, the only thing I ever notice is that Alan never gets it. I don't get it. I mean, something's happening. I mean, that's the only thing that I recognize that I don't get it as much as I work at it. I don't get it. So that's the only thing that's being noticed.
Great.
So is that all that's ever going to happen? Is Alan's never going to get it?
Well, I don't know about the first part, but the second part, Alan's never going to get it. Yes. I think that's been demonstrated. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I just, yeah, I've done the Course in Miracles for years, do the lessons, and I always feel like I never quite get it either. And
Remember what's telling you never got it, never get it. It's actually telling the truth about itself. It's never going to get it. But in fact, Alan, you are it. Yeah. That's why you can't get it. It can't get it because it ain't it. You can't get it because you are it. You see?
no.
I just served you.
Yeah.
A little more confusion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why do you think turns into gold? Remember the old Superman TV show where you take a piece of coal and then squeeze it and make it into a diamond? Well, that's what's happening in a way. You're still seeing the process of the coal being squeezed. You don't recognize you're already the diamond. Don't worry. It's inevitable, bro. A finite activity cannot outlast an infinite condition. So you've got the winning hand. Don't worry.
Well, I mean, is there some relief? I don't carry much baggage, but is it just wearing me out? Till it,
Yeah, I would
till
say
it all,
so.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you and everyone, and this is such a blessing to stumble upon this and you, and this is it's the best thing. So
Well, we love having you, Alan, and thank you for all the support. And you're really what a beautiful donation coming from You Got Nothing.
yeah.
Easy to give if you got something. To give when you got nothing is something, which is nice. Yeah, don't worry about it, brother. It's gonna wear out. Yeah, it's telling you it has 50 more layers. You may be right at the last saran wrap. One more taking off. But when you listen to it, it's going to tell you it's never going to occur. And then when you lose interest in that sufficiently, you'll see it's so beautiful it never occurs because it's always occurring. Yes? It's way beyond having something. It is. It goes to the bone and the marrow. You are it. It's impossible to grasp that with a foreign system called selfing. Yeah. But you are it. That's the beauty of it. Yeah. You know, like sometimes here at these talks, people, I would imagine that person who's speaking, and then the thing that thinks it's the one that's being spoken about, they have no idea that's of the beauty that comes through them, probably, that's readily sensed on this end of the Zoom. Yeah. In a weird way, like with alcoholism or addiction, you always seem to be the last one that knows. Well, with the inherent beauty, I think it's the same strange thing. You're like the last one that knows it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the last one, or I still don't get it.
Well, like we say in AA, keep coming back.
Yeah.
Something's working even though you don't think it's working. That's the beauty. Thanks, Alan. And listen, it's not all about you, Alan. We would miss you if you weren't here. Yes. Yeah. Maybe the whole point isn't Alan getting it. It's us getting Alan. So there's been a huge success. You show up and we get Alan. Maybe that's what really is your agenda. That's your seat assignment, is other people getting Alan, not you getting it. Yeah. Yeah. There's ways of seeing things in a lot of different ways. Thanks, bro. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you, Paul.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, and ditto to what Paul just said. And then I can add similarly to your subject matter, because I remember a couple years after coming, Paul, and you shared one time about how relatively recently for you, you said you really realized you weren't going to get anything. Not it, but you said you weren't going to get anything.
Yeah.
And I, I was in the vein of, big mind is going to get something through me. There's going to be, it needs to wake up. It's not me. I'm not going to get anything. But the two just kind of came together where I realized it's still me thinking I'm going to get something.
Yeah.
And then, like, the bottom being raised in AA, I could really appreciate and respect that you said that and learn from it, I guess, or understand it better, or not understand it better, just like Alan was saying. I don't know, it's hard to express it, but just that nuance of whatever getting it or getting anything means. And it's not like I don't still react like Alan was saying, but I remember that, and the significance of that, and appreciating people coming here, and like Alan saying what he said, and like really repeating that we're really not getting anything.
See, the great thing with the desire to get something is the way the mental state extends its imaginary life. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It wants to include it in zones it could never arrive at or never could exist in. Yeah. And to see that not getting fed, you'll see the nakedness of that desire. Let's say it's not your desire, it's the programming. Yeah. 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 I think that has a huge value to see that. you won't see it if it keeps grabbing things. When when there's nothing to grab, you really get to see the nakedness of it. It's sort of like the emperor with no clothes. Yes. Yes. Yeah. So I feel like I'm a success tonight, that no one's getting really. I mean, shit. Yeah, I remember it was years. I was doing the talks, and you could see there was this vague, like shadowy idea that it was going to get something out of all this emptiness. Talk after talk after talk. And then it had a like a rude awakening that it was never going to get shit. And it still was brought to the talk after the talk after the talk. Yeah. Because a lot of times when people, the head's slick in some ways, so it'll make it look like, I know I'm not going to get anything as something you got. Yeah. Yeah. But remember, all these like finite highways we end up on, seemingly, they all have a dead end. Yeah. The pavement runs out. There's no more curves. It's no incline. It dies. You're convinced, and things are really put to rest. They are, and you can have the joy of noticing it in this life. Yeah. You believe this thing had a super long life, and then it runs out, and it's not being fed, and it comes to an end, and you're still here. Yeah. Yeah. So I have great faith in satsang. I do. Great faith in this little activity of getting together. Because just like we shared the other day about a statement by Nisargadatta, where he said it's all that's needed is a clarity of understanding concerning the misunderstanding. Yeah. Yeah. To see the misunderstanding. Yeah. And what is that? The misunderstanding is that which is thinking it's acquiring understanding. The idea of you getting shit. Yeah. That's a misunderstanding. It's a stubborn one, but that's what it is. So seeing that from the clarity of understanding, which is seeing it from what we are, we will recognize it as not us. That's the clarity of understanding about the primary misunderstanding, which is the misunderstanding that I'm the one who has all these other understandings. Yes, there isn't one. Yeah. This is so incredibly valuable. It's valuable to see a desire sticking out with never and no fruit given to it. It's valuable because you'll recognize what you're not. You will. Yeah. And these roads that you've been paving in a way, that you've been extending, the dead end will just naturally occur. You'll be convinced, and then a whole lot of oomph will move somewhere else. And I believe that oomph moves somewhere else, the effect of that will be an enrichment of your day, not an enslavement of your day. Seriously, it can be that profoundly different. The same energy, its effects can be that different based on what it's put in. Yes. So faith in the infinite rather than finite self. Tell the truth about faith in finite self. And the truth is that there isn't you having faith in finite self. It's faith in finite self that reinforces and emphasizes this idea of you. That's what it is. The you is not the horse in front of the cart. It's the cart after the horse. Yeah. There's selfing, and then there's a sense of self. There's no sense of self without selfing. None, ever. It has to be manufactured. Because it isn't. It's not pulsating with I am right now. It claims the I am and verifies it with I was and I will be. And now the I am gets underemphasized, and then Paul gets emphasized. And then that's the misunderstanding. We're misunderstanding. We're not. The head is misunderstanding the I am. It thinks it's Paul. Yeah. So the clarity of understanding. Yes. I can't find that paper, but I'll try to find it. I usually someone sends me a statement and I can milk it for 2 weeks, maybe, but I can't keep going. I gotta bring out a new muffin from the bakery. I can't keep cooking the same. I'm gonna go over the same thing in the Course in Miracles. I've been doing it for years. I try to keep it down to like twice a year or something, 4 times. They're so perfect to get a point across. That's why I keep using them, really. So, all right, thanks, bro. Anyone else? Thanks, Alan.
Thanks, Alan. No hands up.
Well, let's end the story tonight, eh?
Chapter.
This chapter, the incomplete works of Zen Bitch Slap. Yes. Volume 924. It's an infinite amount. All right, Mike, thanks so much. And I want to announce that
Linda put her hand up.
it's you're lost. Time went out. All right, go ahead. Come on. Just joking.
I'm sorry, am I talking though?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can hear you, yes.
I just wanted to say that I really feel for Ellen. I felt like I'd failed. And once I really embraced the failure, everything just dropped away.
Yeah. Thank you. Is that all? You okay?
She's nodding.
Great. Thank you. All right. Well, let's say goodnight. I wanted to bring up the retreat in October. We're going to be talking about this a lot because it brings me joyous memories from the last retreat in Italy. So we're going to have it in October this year. I think it's October 2nd to the 9th down in Sicily. It's on the website. We'll have more information about the schedule. We'll probably be doing 2 talks a day and then a lot of eating and drinking cappuccinos and gelato and stuff. And I hope people can come with us and enjoy it. And hopefully it's going to become a tradition. So this year it's in Sicily, October 2nd, I think, to the 9th. And yeah, the place looks pretty beautiful. It should be pretty cool. So, and if you want to follow us on the Zoom, just go to Zen Bitch Slap events, and all the Zooms are there, all the talks, and no password, just go in. And Saturday, there'll be a live meeting at the church in Marin City at 1 o'clock and a Zoom at 1 Pacific time, as usual. But we'll be at the church on Saturday. Anyway, so yeah, let's say goodbye. So Mike, thank you. Linda, thank you for that share at the end. Yep. We've got Bill Churchman, always a pleasure. And Bill, we're gonna start setting up a visit to East Coast for late May, June. So we'll be coming back then. I'll talk with Mike and we'll try to do a week around the
That'd
area.
be great. That'd
Yeah,
be great.
yeah.
We'll get over there.
Yeah, we'll probably go back to Doylestown again and stuff.
Awesome.
We got William S. Nice to see you, William, as always. David from Down Under. Craig May from Under. We got John Mandarano. Nice to see you, John. I think it was John. I can't see your first name. Jed, John, Jed, Miss Amelia, Tom, nice to see you, Tom. Irene, thank you for the presence. Yeah, very nice. Anu, there she is. We've got lovely Deborah from Alberta. Robert French from New Zealand. Nice to see Robert. How are you doing, my friend?
Good. Thanks, Paul. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of traveling, so I haven't been on.
Oh, fantastic, bro.
Been out there trying to recognize the emperor with no clothes, with clothes. Having a bit of success too.
Always a pleasure, Robert. I'll meet you someday, I hope. So, yeah.
Yep.
Sherry, as always, down in San Diego. Nice to see you. Yes. Ham and cheese from Tucson. Esteban. Nice to see Esteban. Alan. Yeah. Miranda, 61. Woohoo! Fantastic. Susanna Werner, one of our best friends. A true friend of Zen Bitch Slap, yes. Kenneth, as always, up in Vancouver. Marty, in the dark. Laurie. Bruce, oh, there he is. Nice to see you, Bruce. Let me see who else is here. We've got, I think that's, Chris B. from Massachusetts. Kathleen, happy. We got phone, Mia down in somewhere, LA or San Diego somewhere, yeah. Grateful Dave, Lindy, Susan K, my latte lady, Gary Clark, thank you for all the donations, Gary. Keep up the lavish lifestyle. Yeah. Thanks, everyone. What a pleasure to have all of you sitting in the space. So appreciate it. See you guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good night.